Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Daily Wisdom Words Podcast. I am your co-host, Rini O'Day.
Hey, everyone. I'm Neil Trivedi, and I'm also your co-host. We want to thank you for joining us today and give you a very warm welcome to our latest episode.
Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time as we talk to guests who have stories, advice, life hacks, all of which take you one step closer to the feeling of hope.
It gives me the greatest pleasure today to welcome writer, artist, trauma survivor, wolf woman, and someone I'm proud to call a very good friend, Tianna G. Hansen. Hey, Tianna, welcome to the show.
Hi, Neil. Hi, Rini. Thank you for having me. It's a big
Did
pleasure.
you say wolf woman?
Yes.
Did I hear wolf woman?
Those who know her will know the context of that.
Okay.
So,
okay.
yes.
Do you howl at some point? Are you supposed to touch a tree?
Yes,
No, come
actually,
here.
that is something I was thinking of
Oh my gosh.
a little bit.
Should have. We should have had popcorn and, like just hung out and, my favorite part, just hanging out and talking. I got that part down.
There you go, right?
It's been a big part of my healing, actually, to embody wolf spirit.
Good for you.
Yeah.
So I should probably, before we get into questions, give just a little bit of context that ever since we started the podcast, you were one of the first people that I wanted you to come on here and talk, and because I thought you'd be perfect. But circumstances were different for both of us back then. This was like January or early February of 2021. So not a good time for either of us. And so I kept asking the universe to give me a sign that when will it be the time to ask? Like just ask that, hey, you want to do my podcast? And finally, as we talked about earlier, I got that sign, the most unusual sign. Rini sends me, shortly after we did Rohan's episode, she sends me a link to your profile and says, how about her? I think she's Rohan's friend.
We have to have her on.
So I got my sign. So it's been a long time coming, but I'm so glad that it happened.
I'm very glad.
Yeah.
Because I was similarly like, ooh, I always see all your podcast things out there. I was like, oh, maybe I should offer myself, but I was not feeling
you
that time.
You have a great topic, and I can't wait to get into it. So let's go ahead and do that. And one of the first questions I did want to talk to you about is on your Instagram profile. You talk about your healing journey. You went through a lot, kiddo, and just get into what you want. We're not going to pry. Where's that can opener now? No. Anyway, no. Just let us know what, how and when you started your trauma healing journey and to help others.
Yeah, I've been on the journey, I would say, since childhood, probably, in some ways. I went through some abusive relationships, including with my mom's second husband. So there's the mascot.
There's
Poor animal. And I was always inspired to heal, but I didn't know how to really go about it. So I guess in 2018, I started a little indie press, which I thought would help people share their stories. As a survivor of sexual trauma, I just wanted to let people know they were not alone. And I don't know if Neil has clued you in at all, but that did not go quite as planned. I got involved with some narcissistic people, some people who did not have my best interests in mind. And I published a poetry collection, actually, that was focused on healing my trauma, but kind of perpetuated more trauma. The editor did not have my best interests in mind either. So, I trusted the wrong people with some of that, and it spiraled out of control. I'm not on Twitter anymore due to that.
You know what? That's okay too.
Yeah.
You know what? If people don't have your best interests, bye-bye.
Yeah.
And you're a very smart woman. I can tell that. Plus, they'll pay me $5 to say it. But anyway, that it's not about you. It's about them. When people do that to you, it's about them. you know?
It took a while to realize that. And I took it really hard on myself. I went through a really dark time where I was like feeling very suicidal. I didn't really know how to connect or to speak about what had happened. It felt like so many people, especially on the Twitter atmosphere, like wanted on me that I just didn't understand. I had the best intentions and they kind of got twisted. So I just like isolated myself, put up a bunch of boundaries, and started working on myself really intensely. So that's,
well, you know, you're part of the reason that Neil and I are doing that. Not you personally, stories like yours.
Yeah.
You know, stories. We all have a story.
Please continue on, especially like, so how that led to sort of you creating the embodied healing with Tianna account.
Oh yeah. So
I love that name, by the way.
Thank you. It didn't start out as that. It was trauma healing with Tianna. And it was kind of just a way to hold myself accountable, to have like a good energy thing I could look back on for my bad days, as well as sharing some of my bad days and just letting people know it's okay, whatever you're going through, there's still hope, which I know is what this podcast focuses on a lot. So
there's always hope.
Yes. And I just shared like everything I learned from some tips from therapy, and then it's escalated and I just kept following my intuition, and it's now embodied healing, which I took to mean like embodying your emotions, and that's been a big focus for me.
Good for you.
And it's got some life-changing and very inspiring, very motivating posts, which we will link in the description of the video. I highly recommend to everyone who hasn't to check it out. So, definitely. It's been a game changer for me personally too. So, but just as you were telling chronicling all of that, one thing you mentioned was boundaries, right? And sort of wanting to cut yourself off, and communication. I know, like, I remember you even telling me back then how difficult communication was for you. Is that something common for trauma survivors, like having trouble communicating?
I think so, especially when we haven't fully processed probably what we have gone through. I think it's hard to put it into words, to connect with others, and to feel safe, which I know was mentioned. You were kind enough to share your most recent interview, and that feeling of being safe and knowing that you can share something and your most vulnerable part of yourself with somebody who's going to understand and not hurt you more. So
right.
I think a lot of trauma survivors probably struggle with that, and a lot of it is retraining the nervous system to recognize when you're actually safe and when you're not. Because I think when we go through trauma, we're so used to being in fight or flight mode or freeze mode, unable to relax. So it's a big thing I would recommend.
What are some of the tips you would give people that are just, I mean, trauma is now the new buzzword of the mental health. Right. And it's a great word because we all have it. And so, like, what do you do? What would you recommend for people to, you know, when they are triggered, to calm down, to, you know, get in that place where they're not in fight or flight?
Definitely deep breathing, breath work. So I've been learning in my yoga studies, which I just started, to actually breathe from your belly helps manage. And you can also do alternate nostril breathing. You can do some bilateral eye movements, kind of like they do in EMDR therapy.
How do you do that? Do you just like look to the left? Like, kind of like this.
It sounds weird, but just like looking side to side, using your peripheral vision can actually help retrain your brain and get you out of the same thought patterns and everything.
That's good to know. That's really good to know, because I didn't know about that one.
Yeah, and hopefully down like in a bit we'll focus on some more daily like tips and life hacks that you can give. But before we so that's one thing for the trauma survivors. How about on the other side of that? Because this is something big. I know you've faced this. I know I've certainly faced this, not just with like people who are trauma survivors, but those who have any kind of mental issues, is the other people, right, who are trying to, maybe wanting to help, maybe their intentions are good, but they don't always say or do the right thing. And I've faced that a lot. So what is your advice as far as communication for those that have loved ones who are trauma survivors? How should they communicate to the survivors, especially if they're at their lowest and feeling really, really down?
That's a great question, because I think a lot of people just don't know how to communicate, like, I'm here for you, or how to reach out. And when we're going through like depression or anxiety, I think we tend to isolate even more. So
yes,
it can be hard to reach out to people, have your like safety net of people that you know can support you. But just kind of honoring more of what you need, I think, is a really good recommendation, because then you're not going to be searching for it for other people, but the stuff that you really need to get from other people, because we crave that connection and to feel like we can talk to people and be understood. So having my teacher this past weekend made it really great. She said, have a me and a we, so you can have your own self knowledge and awareness before you can connect with others. I hope that answers your question. I feel like went down
no, it does.
And in your Instagram and in your post, you talk a lot about spirituality. You know, some people would automatically think, you know, religion or, you know, whatever. What do you define spirituality as, and how do you use it in your healing?
I like that.
I use that.
My a big focus on energies for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And just
we're all energy.
Yes, we are, and feeling into that energy that maybe needs to be released. So you can do that through intuitive movement or yoga or breath work. But also just listening into your gut and your intuition. That's what spirituality is for me. And listening.
There's no better voice than your gut.
Yep. And that was the biggest focus for me when I started this healing journey, if you will, was learning to listen to my intuition and my gut, because I had pretty much just closed off to it and I wasn't listening. And I was getting alarm signals and alarm bells, and I knew the things I shouldn't be doing, but I just barreled ahead and did them anyway. And then the universe just like pushed me right out.
I think we all do that in a sense, where we're looking for something to cope with.
Yeah.
And, you know, and then one day you kind of wake up from that and you go, this isn't getting me very far, you know, except a larger size pair of pants. that ain't happening, you know. Right. I got that COVID-25 going here, but that's another story, you know. And, you know, just finding out, you know, how it works for you, that isn't about hiding that trauma, that isn't piling, you know, because when we do stuff, we hate ourselves after, you know.
I'm going to switch things around, Rini, because we are going in
this
direction.
You go.
Yeah. No, since you brought it up, talking about signs and intuition, I know that you're a strong advocate of that now, and so am I. You mentioned now, like, you didn't listen to some of the signs. Can you give a couple of examples, maybe one or two, when you did and it really paid off?
Yeah, definitely the sign to start my Instagram blog, because that was a big thing, especially after having Twitter be so negative. I was like, well, I don't ever want to be on social media again, but I still had the internal call to reach out to others and share my story. So I followed it, and it's brought me so many wonderful connections and just a whole new path in life. And it's also, my intuition told me to go be a yoga instructor student. So that's a mouthful.
Student instructor.
So now I'm doing training. Yeah. So that's been really cool.
Well, see, like this, if that isn't a sign from the universe, I don't know what is. I mean, it really slammed a door on you, but man, it opened a beautiful window,
Yes.
you know? And like we talked about it, it's about those people that bully you. It's not about you.
No.
I mean, you know, I can tell you have a really good soul, and that's $10 down now. And no, seriously, you like, I can see you being very successful in doing what you're doing because you feel it. You want to help people.
We talk about the mention of bullies and trolls and things like that, and I know that's something that's been a recurring theme, like for many years. How does one keep from like becoming completely pessimistic when stuff like that happens, and person after person that violates your trust, violates your friendship? When that happens, I can imagine that it's not so easy to get back and start trusting people and letting them in. So how does one keep from shutting off everybody? Because as human beings, obviously we all want love and support, and we do want friends, and we do want partners and family members to be around us.
I think just grounding, a lot of grounding techniques and work, and dialogue with yourself. Like, what do I really want? Why am I doing this? Why am I putting myself out there? And just focus on your intentions and why you're doing what you're doing, why it's important to you. And if you have a negative mindset or stream of consciousness going in your head, like, oh, I love that, I'm not deserving, just reframe that. Yeah. Well,
you have to love yourself.
Yeah, you do.
First and foremost. Because if you don't love yourself, then nobody else can really, truly love you, because you're not showing them who you are.
Yeah. I love that. Maintaining your authenticity and just knowing.
It took me a long time to get where, I did with that.
Yeah.
A
lot of work. A lot of work. Yeah. Just like retraining that brain, especially. I still get caught up in like listening to what the bullies or the trolls said, or especially because
I don't anymore.
Yeah, they were friends of mine, or who I thought were my friends. So
those are friends.
They're really a bad person, and just recognizing, no, I only want.
They have something in them that caused them to have that visceral reaction, because it was their guilt that was making them act out like that. So whatever it was, they were feeling guilty.
And also another big thing for me was everyone was like expecting me to talk about my personal trauma as a way to take accountability. And no, you don't owe anybody your story.
Oh.
If you're not feeling comfortable or safe in that community or environment, you have the right to leave. You do not owe anybody anything. The only person you owe anything to is yourself.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah.
Very true.
Because,
and people will use it against you, you know?
Yeah.
People will use it against you.
Yep.
So don't tell them.
I think that's one reason why like people deal with mental health issues, trauma, depression. That's one of the reasons why they find it so difficult to open up, is that fear of judgment, and God only knows what else will come your way if you open up, and it brings about a lot of negativity. Then there's always that fear. I know I have it all the time, so that's why I never, that's why I'm never, even Tianna, you keep telling me, hey, if you're feeling down, talk to me and all that. And I'm always vague. I had a couple of bad days, but it's cool now, and never open up. But I'm learning.
But it can be very freeing too, to know who can hold you in that space safely, and who you can trust that those details about what you've been through with, because it took me a long time. Like, even when you were reaching out to me a lot, Neil, I would still be like very cautious for a while. And then but I knew you had good intentions. It was just because I was scared.
And that's one reason why I never like approached you to come on here because I wanted to. You had told me that you're like, look, communication is very difficult for me now, and I wanted to respect that boundary. And I'm like, well, if that's the case, doing a podcast is probably not on your priority list right now. So I better give you.
Yeah, fear is a real thing, and fortunately, you did get over it, and we have you here now, and we're thrilled with that because you really do have a very interesting story, and you are healing, and you're helping other people now too. So what are some of the things you're doing to educate yourself to be able to help others?
Because you
you're
recently
taking
got
yoga.
certified.
Yeah.
There's a certification in the works. So tell us about that.
Actually, this weekend I'll be certified in level 2 of, here's a mouthful, but applied polyvagal theory in therapeutic yoga. So
Perfect.
that is a big thing, but it's all about like working with your fight or flight response and feeling safe and being able to connect with people again. So pretty much everything we just talked about.
Can you explain the polyvagal nerve to people that don't understand it?
Yep. Yeah, so the vagus nerve is connected with your brain and your nervous system, and it actually controls and helps modulate when you're feeling safe and when you feel in danger. So people who've been through trauma are going to constantly be hypervigilant, feel like they're in danger, which is the fight, flight, freeze response that we're all probably familiar with. But the problem happens when we're always feeling like we're in danger, and we can never be safe enough to connect with people. So it's like retraining your nervous system to recognize I am safe. Like right here, I am safe in this moment. Nothing's going to hurt me. So that's why the bilateral eye movements, like looking side, can help you do that.
and also not letting children suffer from crying fits because they're crying for a reason.
Yep. And when they don't receive that nurturing, they like learn, okay, I'm never gonna be safe. I'm not gonna receive what I need in this world. So yeah, you're not meant to let them cry.
I know. I could never stand that.
That was a huge theme that we covered, like in the last episode. I remember. I like that. Yeah, I like that because it makes for a good transition from one episode to another.
Yeah. That's right. I mean, it's the truth as far as like, it all starts from the first time we come out of, mom's body and they make you cry. Yeah. And I'm like, why do they make you cry? Why do they make your kid cry? And the doctor said, oh, it's to clean their lungs. And I go, well, aren't there easier ways? Because this is like traumatizing, you know?
Yeah. They just came into the world. They don't need more of that.
I know. They used to hang us upside down and smack her butt. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's let's do that. Why don't we just play basketball with them next?
Yeah. Wrong first impression of the world. Right. I don't want this. I want to go back.
I know.
And that's a big thing too, is when we're children, if we're not receiving the nurturing and care and able to like bring a narrative to what we're experiencing, then it becomes harder as adults as well to continue doing that.
Exactly. And then there comes in someone like you to help us break the cycle of the trauma and learn to deal with it.
Yeah. And I know that you're going to do that in the near future in official capacity now. You've already been doing it for so long and unofficially, giving inspiration to so many people like myself. But tell us about that. Infinity Lotus. I still think that's the most badass thing I've ever heard.
Yeah. Perfect name.
Tell us about that. What will you be offering and things like that?
Yeah, thank you. I'm very excited. I dreamt it up actually the end of last year and just kind of kept fighting off some self-worth fears, and finally just kind of announced or teased it. I've been working on a website so I can officially start offering it, but I'll be doing some one-to-one embodiment breath work, working with the polyvagal practices. So you can do like massages of the vagus nerve. You can do yoga poses. And eventually, once I'm certified in my yoga teaching, I'll be doing more yoga.
Will you do that up at that online?
Yes.
Oh, good. Yeah.
So planning to do it like all over the world, I guess, hopefully, if I reach people. And
you will.
Yeah, I want to do some writing workshops to connect with yourself, some body workshops. Yeah, I haven't really fully decided everything yet. I'm sure I can just keep adding on to it.
Absolutely. There's sky's the limit on this. Like really, the sky's the limit. Yeah. So, what are the most difficult things you've learned from, your time in, I mean, you don't have to go into personal, personal, but is it bringing up those emotions? Is it just not wanting to deal with things? Is it, the memories? What's been really difficult in this journey?
I would say sitting with my feelings instead of numbing to them has been a big thing, because that's also goes along with coping you had mentioned before. However we choose to cope, whether it's like alcohol, drugs, or anything else, just
chocolate,
give me another Milky Way bar. I don't want to. It's all valid. So whatever way we're coping, it can be detrimental to us to continue doing that if we're not willing to like sit in our feelings and just recognize it's okay however we're feeling. And I still get on myself if I'm having a bad day. I'm like, why am I feeling bad? But I've had to be a little bit more gentle with myself, recognize when I need to rest, because that can be a big thing to just keep going.
Self-care.
Yep.
Yeah.
Another buzzword, self-care. And it's one thing we have not done enough of in our lifetime is,
Yeah. We underestimate the power of rest and self-care and self-love.
Yeah. And that's a big thing I've been learning, is just meeting myself wherever I am. So if I'm not feeling like moving or doing yoga or anything that day, I'm like, okay, we're not going to get mad at myself, or we're just going to it. I've also been doing a lot of like intuitive eating, because I struggled with nourishing my body throughout the pandemic. I would get like so anxious I couldn't physically eat. So I just have been a lot better with that as well.
Do you know that 80% of all fights that happen is because someone hasn't eaten?
Really? Yeah, you get like hangry. It's a thing when you get.
Yeah.
It's a big thing. Yep. It's a big thing. And so I've been trying to watch for that.
Yes.
Like if I find myself getting irritated that my husband did something, grab an apple. I'll take it out on the apple. Because,
poor apple.
Poor apple.
Yeah.
At least I didn't throw it at his head.
Teeth and all that.
At least I didn't throw it at his head.
Yeah.
It could have been worse.
Could have been way worse.
Yeah.
Really? I should write a poetry book.
Really?
I'm actually working on one, so
I'm trying to get Neil to write a book, because I think he has a phenomenal book inside of him.
He definitely.
And he tells me yes all the time, and I say, okay, send me the first draft, and I get nothing.
Come on.
And you can't buy me off with Milky Way bars anymore. So quit sending them. I know, right?
That's great. Yeah, tell us about that, the poetry collection that's coming in the near future.
Yes, all I really need is it to be designed, and I was going to do it myself. I definitely have experience with that, but I was getting so frustrated. I just have all these ideas. But it's called Singing Through My Wolf Bones, and it's a collection of woman poetry. So
that's beautiful.
And
so
whenever it comes out, there will be signed copies, right, to buy. That's the most important thing.
Definitely.
Yes.
All for you.
Okay.
So are you going to do a wolf singing like on The Masked Singer? You could have him design a wolf singing.
She does.
And then you can just
You have the wolf head, right? And
hmm
several other attires.
I have lots of wolf ears, so I might have to get creative. So
just have a microphone, and instead of the musical notes coming out, have poetry words.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have too many ideas at this point. I just need to
I know, it really is hard. I couldn't even imagine having to do that.
Yeah, do this with it or that. And yeah, I have a friend who's a really good designer. I've been trying to get on with her, so we'll see. But it is coming, I promise.
Good. Can you offer a few tips? Like we were talking, if Neil wanted to get into maybe giving us a technique,
Read the emails that you sent me. No, I'm kidding. Because they had a lot of tips. No, just daily tips, life facts. I know you talked about, especially for those you wanted to touch on who feel stuck or overwhelmed in during with trauma and stuff like that. So yeah, just if you could share.
Yeah, I feel like I'm always saying meditate, but that's actually really hard to do if you're feeling stuck in trauma.
Thank you for saying that. That's everybody keeps telling me like, have you ever meditated? Why don't you try meditating? It's like
easy.
Really?
They have amazing YouTube videos of meditation, things like that. It's not just sitting there like with your eyes closed and trying not to think, because the first person that cannot think while they're meditating wins the game, as far as I'm concerned.
It's actually very hard, to keep your thoughts at bay. So they do recommend if you are struggling in trauma to not actually do that, because it can kind of make you feel worse. So
but I'll put in my earpods and then just put on a meditation app. I think it's more about the breathing than it is about. We lost your. Oh, there we go.
I would say breathing or visualization techniques. I
love visualization.
Yeah. So my favorite is like a DBT skill. So if you visualize each thought as like a leaf floating down a stream and watch it go away.
Huh.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
So, like, is there anything else that you can offer that $9.95 special that we can all?
Yeah.
Pay first. No, I'm just kidding.
I love that.
A massage, actually. So if you actually
really,
because I have TMJ really bad.
See, this would really help if you just all of your facial muscles, your neck, around your ears, because that stimulates the vagus nerve.
Your ears? Where? Yeah.
Really?
In front or behind?
Ears, all around your ears.
Oh, cool.
And like the upper neck.
Oh my!
It can
upper neck. Oh.
You've seen the worst of social media via Twitter, and the best via Instagram. What would you say to others for utilizing social media and not letting some of the more negative aspects get to them, especially since you've been on both sides now?
I love that question. I feel like people can get so caught up in their identity on social media, and I used to hold such a big emphasis on that, and I really lost myself in Twitter, my identity there, and I had like such strict boundaries, if you will, in place for even coming back on like Instagram, because I didn't want that to happen again. So I would just say keep like a level head and stay grounded when you're using social media, especially during the pandemic. I would go on and I would just like be doom scrolling and just like, oh, the world is all this bad stuff happening. Or even when you're in a negative mindset, you're scrolling through and seeing everybody's highlights and it's making you feel worse. So I don't know if that answers the question, but just being mindful when you're using it and why you're using it. So I even wrote like a little limits for myself. I can go on for work to like check this or that. For fun,
that's smart.
Yeah, and
that's really smart.
my likes. I don't look at how many likes I get anymore.
No.
I that, like, oh, I'm not even reaching people, but I really think if you're reaching even just one person.
I think psychologically likes are very damaging to people. I really do. I mean, I think that we should take all that stuff away and just not care, just put our stuff out there that we want to. No one has to like it. No one has to hate it. And speaking of hate, Instagram has kind of like put some censorships on you lately. How stupid are those to deal with? And how have you dealt with the little nuances of those?
Yeah, honestly, I was like, is this...
Nuances. Nuisances. Nuisances.
That's what they are, right?
They're nuisances.
I was like, is somebody coming after me and reporting me? Or is it Instagram? Or is it like a mix of the both? I don't know. But somewhere in there, I upset either Instagram's algorithm or somebody out there was like, oh my God, she's dancing with no clothes on. We're going to report.
But it wasn't that, though. I've seen all your posts. There was nothing like that. You were not uploading porn. You were uploading beauty.
I was like, okay.
And it was your release, a way of release for you. So.
And it was very, out there, especially with your question, Neil, about like, how do I even show up again on social media after being bullied? And I've just kind of made my own identity on there. And if people don't like it, that's okay.
Well, Instagram has no room to talk because they let some pretty horrible stuff through.
Yes. Yeah. And that upset me too. I had reported some account that was spreading really nasty things around, and I don't think they did anything about that, but
no, it's what benefits them, I think.
Yeah.
But
because they have people like pretending to be a different sex, different age, and all this crazy stuff is going on. And when I remember when you put up that post and they're trying to censor you, I'm like, so all those people are getting away scot-free and you're being censored.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where's the logic in that? No logic whatsoever.
I know. And they're like, you must present yourself in a respectful way. I'm like, how was I disrespecting anybody? Okay.
And also, no one should have that kind of power.
No.
Right. Yeah.
That's a lot of power.
Yeah.
To censor people. I mean, I just don't think it's the right way we should be doing things. I mean, we need censorship, obviously.
Yeah, but not in the way that they're doing it. Yeah.
Not in the way they were doing it to you.
They don't realize the context behind it of how much those videos, pictures, how much they mean to you and what they represent of your release, putting yourself out there. But they don't see any of that, which really sucks. So.
Yeah. I'll keep getting around it somehow.
I love that.
I saw that, putting the numbers and certain numbers instead of certain letters. I saw that,
That works. That works. That works.
Yeah. But also, I've been there too, where I used to report people. Like, I was in such a negative state of my own self where I would be like, oh, why are you showing, your body online? I didn't see it as empowering at the time. So I'm sure that it could be some karma coming back. But I used to be where you are. And
we always live with that hanging over our head, don't we?
Yeah.
That's why, kindness is the only thing that you can really put out there.
Yes.
I think. I try to be.
It goes a long way.
Yes.
Yeah. What were once you get on Instagram, you started the blog and you started putting up these wonderful, empowering posts. What was the earliest signs of hope that okay, maybe, just maybe, my whole world is not over just yet. Even if it's really down, I can still get back up. When did that light at the end of the tunnel start becoming more and more visible?
Oh, probably a year ago, I would say. Because up until then, I still was trapped in very negative mindset, worrying and what other people thought a lot, worrying how I was going to appear to them. So a lot of it has been a deep inner dialogue within myself and coming to terms with loving myself for everything I've been through, no matter what. So just loving my shadow, loving all of the mistakes that I've had to go through to learn what I did. And I guess once I reached that like deep self-acceptance, I noticed I wasn't as prone to like judging myself, being hard on myself. Even when I got caught in like a negative day or feeling bad about a certain thing, I could like go back and ground in knowing that I'm still worthy and deserving. Yeah.
Well, I have to tell you, I've learned a lot from your post, reading your Instagram page. I mean, you've helped me in a lot of ways, realize that, there is a path forward. There is a way to put the garbage behind you and move forward, and don't care what anybody says, because their opinion doesn't matter.
No.
It's only their opinion, and they're going to have it regardless of who you really are or not.
Yes.
I find a lot of your posts are like, at least for me, they're like light bulb moments. Like maybe I thought about it earlier.
That's a good point, Neil.
But the way you present it with, sometimes with artwork, sometimes with affirmations, just like all clicks. Like, why didn't I think that earlier? Why didn't I? That's perfect. Like
she is. Really that's a good point, Neil. You are a light bulb moment. You make people think, because not all people have the ability to do that. Like, I mean, I don't. I think I never post anything, but maybe my, dogs or something.
What gave you the strength and confidence to finally do it all the way, put yourself back on the radar, so to speak, and start with, well, I mean, you had gone live before when you read like a few of your poems and all that, but not in a big way until you did that live with Taylor, and then from there it was podcast. What sort of like went through your mind and said, okay, I'm ready to do this now?
I'm not sure I ever really like had that feeling or thought, but I guess it was more of a feeling with my intuition and just knowing that, okay, now I'm ready to like accept my story within myself and go share it with other people. Because before I would like think about it and just meet a lot of resistance and fear. And I was like, okay, maybe I'm not ready yet. And just being very like gentle and compassionate with myself. Because even, I don't know, I definitely still had some doubts like coming on here, not because of that, but just, what if somebody from like my past sees it and then it starts again, or what if Neil gets backlash for featuring me or something?
And now you have the tools to handle it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because you went out and got those tools, and not only that, you're helping people with those tools.
Yeah, you get so worked up in like, what are people going to say or think? And I think
exactly,
for me at least, I had to completely distance myself from that. And for a while I was like, can I even still be a writer if I like don't have a presence on Twitter, etc.? And I'm like, if it's better for me.
Absolutely.
Then,
Okay.
So people like difficulty communicating actually gave me something. Is I remember like when you told me like, oh, I'm having difficulty communicating, but open door for you when you told me that when I wanted to email you to bombard you with questions like I always do. I'm improving on that. I'm getting better. But it's like that. It meant that much more. You don't have to get better.
You don't have to get better.
No, I'm always like, how do you do this and how do you do that? I noticed you put this picture up, and how do you crop it, and how did you? I'm always but it's that taught me like the fact that you were not like communicating so frequently at that time, because it was really difficult. Just the fact that you told me I could email it, that meant that much more. So I think in those kind of cases, when you go through those phases and then finally say, yeah, talk to me, it makes it that much more special and that much more like comforting and safety, like you said. So
and you've helped Neil a lot. He has talked a lot about, your ability to answer his questions and, and reach out. And that is a really good friend.
He's helped me a lot. Like, I can't even.
He's helped me too.
Just
Mhm.
it felt like everyone had turned their back on me, and then
Mhm.
Neil was always there, and I was just like, oh my god, is this real? I was like, no.
Okay,
But
ladies, we're having a data nil contest. Please submit your
farm him out. No, I'm just kidding.
farmer map.
Yeah, but that's really just priceless because you can connect with people and make a difference in
Mhm.
their lives online. And I think that can be really life-changing. It's been life-changing for me because I'm like, wow, I can actually reach out to people and connect. And yeah, it's always made me feel really good.
Well, I think you're going to do very, very well. And you're going to be very,
Yeah.
very successful because you, my girl, have your head on your shoulders. And, you know, dealing with that trauma, you can come hang out in my family room anytime. We'll buy snacks. We'll watch, you know, whatever. So, can you give us your Instagram handle and are you on Facebook?
I am, but I'm gonna make like an official, probably Infinity Lotus page.
Okay.
For that.
Okay.
But you can find me Tianna G Hansen on Facebook, Instagram, Embodied Healing with Tianna, and that's 2 N's. And yeah, and I'm
finally
gonna
quit calling you Tatiana because Neil said if you call her Tatiana one more time, I'm gonna smack you upside the head, and even at a distance, that hurt. And then I said, well, okay, so I have to use word association. Tea is my favorite drink. Tea. And then Anna from Frozen. So Tiana.
No, I was telling her, like, I remember back in the Twitter days when you had put up like a pet peeve and like names was like one of your bigs. I was telling Reedy that I'm like, you know, that's one of her pet peeves. So you may want to like, you know,
get it right.
Yeah, get it right.
I kept sending him your profile. I kept saying, we have to get this girl on. He goes, you know, you've sent me your profile 5
right?
times.
And then she, after I invited you and you said you'd already come on, I believe she sent you an invite.
I did again. Because you posted something like really exciting. I'm like, you posted something like really exciting.
Like, oh, sorry. And I was like, don't apologize. And you're like, oh, do you want to come on this podcast?
I know, right?
Like, yeah.
I was like, so embarrassed. I was like, oh, she gets it. She gets it,
no,
you know.
It made me so good because I was like, I'm not only on it just as Neil's friend, you know, Reenie wants
and now mine too. So, no. Well, we loved having you. And promise you'll come back when that poetry book is ready. You know, I'd love to hear some of your poetry.
Yeah,
I should have had her read one. Can you do that, please? I want
to. Do you have a poem?
Read one. Yeah.
I can read. I'll read like the title poem, which is it's not really edited yet. But okay, don't laugh.
You know, like when you say don't laugh, you automatically laugh.
All right. This is the title poem for my poetry book to come eventually. Singing through my wolf bones. Under the gossamer balsamic moon, there exists my other self, gallivanting in the land of fairies. An orphan kidnapped changeling, you'll know me by the steady thrum of music through my harp bones. Each vein a louder tone, softer, the memory of one imprinted on my tongue, padding through the forest, each step an offering of forgiveness, singing through my wolf bones. My essence radiates like cobalt blue as a railing ocean's icy tide. The moon its dominatrix as mine, my cycle spurs to shedding at each full moon. Bent to howls of pleasure, ecstasy in discovering the timbre of my own voice.
Neil, you liar. Neil,
what?
He said you were good. She's great. Oh my God.
I totally understand.
Tianna, that was stunning. And I'm sorry, I'm going to steal that balsamic moon because I've never heard that. And that is, I love that.
Yeah, it's a type of moon.
I love that. That is a perfect title poem.
Parting words for both sides. Those in your situation.
Oh, that makes me mad. That's a good question. We have a joke about that.
I got my quota, and Tianna, we'll
I know.
explain to you after we record the
Yeah.
significance of that statement. But parting words for people who are where you were a year and a half ago. What would you tell them right now? And
exactly.
also parting words to those who are observing those people, like those who, what to say to them, and so I guess like a two.
What definitely not to say.
Yeah. Well, that's hard, but
Not to say.
Just get over it. Just watch a sitcom. You'll be okay.
Yeah.
Never works.
Laugh. It all happens for a reason.
Go away.
That's a new thing
a bad
I've
day, right? It's just a bad day. You'll get over it.
Yeah, you'll get over it. No worries. Because that can be really maddening to hear. I'm sure, as you know, Neil, as someone who goes through your own mental health phase, it's like, no, just acknowledging that they're going through something, and also self-acknowledgement. Like, I have been through this, I'm going through it, honoring it, and this is what I need to feel, or this is what I need to do to get through it, and just honoring that, acknowledging it, and accepting that maybe you need some time to rest, to integrate, reassess your boundaries, reassess who deserves having access to you, all of that, and really ask yourself, is this helping my mental health or not? Because,
and don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yes, don't be afraid to reach out, use your support system, because people care about you and love you and don't want to see you get hurt. So
thank you everyone for joining us, and thank you, Tianna, for coming on.
Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at all the links listed in the description. And don't forget to hit like on this video and subscribe to this channel so you never miss an episode. And if you want to show us a little extra love, we also have a link for donations. Thank you everyone once again, and we will see you right here next week at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Goodbye.
Thank you.